you.
Hey, Bob.
Hey there.
How are ya?
Good.
Smile.
One of us talks cricket. Everybody does. Yeah, different directions. Yeah. That's why we keep crashing into each other.
Civil King's a couple things, but in their case, it's the more things the more
Hey, how about you? Howdy, buddy. Come off to the side. Hey, how are you?
That's the bagpipe side. Get your right foot.
Almost out of battery.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Nahant Memorial Day Committee, can you hear me, Molly? Thank you for joining us today to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country, along with our deceased local veterans, friends, and loved ones. We ask you to especially remember our fellow Americans who are currently serving in Iraq, along with those who have made the ultimate sacrifice during this grave conflict. I would like to extend the thanks of the Parade Committee to our selectmen, to Mark Cullinan, the town administrator, and to the Public Works Department under Bob Ward for preparing the cemetery and the whole town for this occasion. Certainly no easy task after the recent record rains. Thank you. We also want to thank the other town officials who have joined us in our parade today, along with all the participants, of course, for your continued and much appreciated support. Molly Conlon continues to chair the Memorial Day Committee. Thank you, Molly. And my personal thanks to our volunteer parade marshals for their much needed assistance. Thank you, guys and gals. Our thanks always to Calantha Sears, John and Alice Roy, and the Nahant Boy Scouts for again placing flags and geraniums on the graves of the veterans buried here at Green Lawn Cemetery. We also appreciate the continued participation of our State Senator Tom McGee. Thank you, Senator. And of course our State Rep Steve Walsh. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. We will now proceed with our memorial service. As we pause today to remember the American servicemen and women who have died for our country, please remember the following veterans with ties to Nahant who passed away since last Memorial Day. World War II veterans Francis Alimenti, Clarence A. Barry, Thomas J. Bongiorno, Vincent A. Capano, Paul P. DeMarcles, Frederick J. Hyde Jr., David Livingston, Walter J. McGrath, Robert Muse, John H. Osbar, Ernest C. Poole, Elward C. Richardson, and James J. Spence. Also, Korean conflict veterans Stanley Lush, and Vietnam veterans Ralston S. Clinch and Philip M. McLaughlin. Next, representing the American Legion's Mortimer G. Robbins Post 215 is their Vice Commander and Nahant Veterans Agent, Tom Gallery. Sergeant Gallery.
Thank you, Colonel. Good morning. Another Memorial Day. A lot of veterans here. We're enjoying it immensely. Thank you for all the parade people that came in to help us with this beautiful day. Representative McGee is here, has been noted before. He's been with us for a long time. Now, as a member of the Mortimer G. Robbins Post, I have some thoughts to share with you. We set this day aside each year to pay tribute for the ultimate sacrifice. Since the Civil War, more than 2 million veterans have lost their lives in the service of their country. This service was for the preservation of what our Constitution states: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all Americans. These veterans died, and all vets were simply common people, who answered a call to arms. It was not a question of, will I return? It was a statement of, what can I do for my country? An unselfish statement which comes from the honor of being an American. These veterans answered the call with their eyes open, knowing full well the horrors of war from past history. Veterans pushed papers, operated bulldozers, repaired engines, painted boats and ships, built bridges, flew aircraft, and were transported in aircraft that we were unfamiliar and uncomfortable with. The veterans toted, "Your weapon was always with you." We lived on sea rations at times. Anything edible would do. They were constantly giving us shots, telling us we would be immune to all the local diseases. However, many vets had problems that nobody can diagnose. Vets remember being a civilian one day and the next a military number. They shaved our heads, yelled at us, insulted and humiliated and de-egotized us to conform to the discipline which they knew we would need to survive. Vets of all wars lived a bit closer to death than most people like to think about, and returned in various conditions of mental and physical and emotional disability. They served wherever the fight was held, to preserve our country's right to freedom. Memorial Day stands as a tribute to all these memories, good and bad, which most of the time vets never talk about. Vets did it the American way: get the job done. How thankful the citizens of this country should be to the veterans who served. Thank you. I hope you all enjoy the day.
Thanks, Tom. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the annual high point of our ceremony, the recital of the Gettysburg Address. This year, Tony Silva is the Johnson School 6th grade student who was competitively selected to recite the Gettysburg Address. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Silva.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But, in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. But, no, it is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth.
Great job, Tony. We will now salute the dead. Participants are the American Legion Herman A. Spear Post number 331 Firing Squad from Beverly, and buglers from the Swampscott High School Band. Parade participants, 10 hut. Salute the dead. Order, arms.
Yeah, here they go.
Hi there.
Family portrait.
Wave hi to the folks at home.
Are we on the website?